Hello and welcome to Talking Heads. My name is Josh Haney. I am the editor of The Horn, online news resource for UT students. My guest this week is Professor Tom Palaima. Professor Palaima, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing
Nice to
fine.
meet you.
Thank you for having me. And I didn't know this was, what would you say? Making sense?
Talking Heads.
Talking Heads, yeah.
Yes,
Well, I was
yes,
thinking about that because
yes.
Talking Heads were one of my favorite groups way back when. You know that great film that they
Oh,
made,
yeah.
Stop Making Sense, and in many ways that's what
It's an
that.
homage to them.
But I mean, well, but it's relevant to this because in many ways the funding for big time athletics has stopped making sense a long time ago.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and that's what we're here to,
yeah.
hopefully for you to pick apart today.
Okay.
So I guess we're going to start with the current picture of the athletics program at UT. I was wondering if you can just kind of, in broad strokes, tell us what the major problems are, what you see as, I guess, financial issues
That's
for
right.
the athletics
Yeah.
program.
Well, just speaking locally, and there's the other aspect of it is the influence that
Mm-hmm.
UT football, especially, but the whole sports program, which, as you know, Texas Monthly calls Longhorns Inc., and DeLoss Dodds, the athletics director, said we are the Joneses, and both of those are true. Even Sports Illustrated, one of the recent years, named UT's athletics program the top athletics program in the country. So it's the trendsetter, and continues to be so and desires to be so. And it's one of the main, well, there are four or five main problems, but in terms of its overall budget, it generates $138 million worth of revenues. Much of that revenues comes from sales, rental of skyboxes and club seats and so forth. But there are portions of it that really siphon money away from the university, so it's a misnomer or it's not factually correct to say that the sports program is totally independent. Secondly, the very fact that even if it were totally independent, that in itself creates a problem because you're allowing one element of the university, essentially a free hand in how it generates revenues and spends revenues, and no other component of the university has that. They're
Mm-hmm.
all integrated into the overall budget with a serious and a serious motive, which is to make sure that the educational and research mission of the university is put in a primary position before you make expenditures.
Mm-hmm.
A third issue is that in order to generate those enormous revenues, the sports program has gotten itself into a position where it really does have to win.
Yeah.
You have a couple losing seasons and don't rent those skyboxes in Darrell K. Royal
Mm-hmm.
Memorial Stadium or down at the Drum, and soon the revenues will fall off to the point where the academic side of the university budget is going to have to contribute more, and this is a real possibility. The overall indebtedness, most people don't know this, but because of these enormous stadium expansion projects between 1998 and the present, over $300 million was spent on just expanding stadiums,
Yeah.
Dish Falk, DKR, the Drum, and also the other athletics fields that have been built. And that's 224 million that has a yearly bond payoff of 15 million. And that's an enormous amount. And when you think that the overall 138 million is all pretty much spent, there's about 2 million there that gets plowed back. Some of it going to the university, some of it going to a reserve fund to try to protect against downturn and rainy day issues. But nonetheless, as you may also know, essentially the chief financial officer for the athletics program said, "We eat what we kill,"
Right.
And that's a problem too because that just should not prevail at any public institution.
Mm-hmm.
The two final general problems are, of course, what kind of education are the student athletes getting? Are the student athletes who come onto campus should they be on the UT campus if their preparation, their aptitudes are not anywhere near the level of a normal student? Is it fair to them to be put in a situation where they have to be in classes that are populated by students that taught at a level that is far beyond what they're capable of doing? I mean, as you know, universities have ranked admission. You know, there's a certain level of academic attainment that you need to get into Harvard. There's another that you need to get into University of Arkansas or University of Oklahoma. Texas is in between, and then there are even lower standard institutions. But education functions that way for a purpose. I mean, we're not all just as we're not all Colt McCoys, you know, athletically, so we're not all Steven Weinbergs intellectually, and the educational system in the United States takes that into account. So student athletes whose preparation is not, again, as I said, not remotely appropriate for a UT are brought onto campus because they are athletes, when they would be better served going to a place that was geared more to the intellectual level that they are at. So that's a problem. And finally, the sixth problem, or there are two other problems, I should say. I could start multiplying them,
Right.
but the two other problems are, one is that in order to achieve this level of success and keep the income coming in, UT has chosen a path whereby it supports much fewer sports. University of Michigan, Ohio State supports something like 36 to 38 intercollegiate athletic sports. UT, it's around 20 to 22. So they don't support things that other institutions support. And thereby, too, the number of athletes in Michigan or Ohio State is somewhere between 670 and 720 athletes. UT is around 490 to 510. So under the guise of achieving athletic success, you are depriving and generating all this income, you are depriving not just theoretically, but actually 200, 250 students at the UT the possibility of participating in sports that UT just doesn't support at that NCAA level. The final thing, and I was people sometimes think because I'm critical of UT sports that I'm not a sports fan. I am a big sports fan, and I played baseball and I play soccer. I've done all sorts of things in my youth, and I just played intramural soccer last fall. And to my mind, what you learn in sports is really vital. I agree that you learn important values and important things about yourself in sport. One of the things that is most important to learn is how to lose. And also, if you're going to compete and win, you should try to be competing and winning against essentially teams that are of your caliber. When you look, people are saying Mac Brown's a great coach because he has all these years of 9 to 10 victories. You could coach the team and get 9 to 10 victories against the kind of, with the assistant coaches in place.
Right.
You could coach the team. You might not be able to recruit the athletes, Mac Brown, but you could coach with the athletes he has against these fodder teams that they play. I mean, when you look at it, in a given season, they play 13 games or 14 games if they get into the playoffs, which they always do. And 10 to 11 of those games, the average for those 10, 11 games against the non-competitive teams that they play, the average margin of victory over the last 4 or 5 years is almost 35 points a game. And that's with a coaching philosophy of not running up the score.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, these games are jokes. I have no idea why people are packing Darrell K. Royal Memorial Stadium to see UT beat up on Louisiana Lafayette. Yeah. I mean, what's the point of it? I went to one of those games 2 years ago. I was invited to the President's Skybox, and it was the most boring thing imaginable. And I just this is like being the Goliath beating up on David all the time. If you thrill to that as a sports viewing experience, I find it rather pitiful.